Hello, and welcome back to Polyglots of the Week. This week I thought I'd talk about picking a language to study. So, for people who are just starting a new language and for people who maybe this is their second or third language. So, generally the problem is that when people go into learn a new language, I feel like they usually do so because they have to, either for a credit or for maybe a study abroad option. So usually what people will do is they'll go into a language that they think will be easiest or that simply has most resources, which is why usually Spanish and French and German classes tend to be the most full. I know that was a problem in my high school because, for example, the German program would advertise their language by emphasizing the easiness aspect of it, the cognates, and saying that, oh, it's very similar to English. But that would attract people who didn't really care about learning languages or who would only take the class so that they could fulfill the recommendation requirement. So, what happens is that in the end, the entire class is filled with a bunch of immature people who just don't care at all about learning, and that's not how learning a language is supposed to go. You have to be willing to put in some efforts into it and realize that it's not always going to be that easy. So yeah, this video was sort of inspired by a post that I saw on Tumblr saying that people shouldn't go into a language because it's easy or expecting it to be easy. That being said, I understand maybe for people who do want to learn a new language, but maybe this is their first one and they want to try one that's less of a challenge, which is fine. But then it depends on the individual person, what language is best for them, and I think that's what people should ask themselves before going in to a new class, a new language, and trying to go on with that. So if you do want to go into a new language, you should take into account several things. If you want to pick one that will work with you and that you'll enjoy, because learning languages shouldn't be a chore either. It should be easy, but it shouldn't be the bane of your existence. It should be fun, but possibly a challenge sometimes. So number one, why do you want to learn a language? Is it because you want to fulfill a requirement? Or is it because you want to go to a country and study abroad there? Or because a culture interests you? Or just because? All of that is important. Your motivation for going into learning a new language. Second, it is important to take in mind how much of a challenge you want. Do you want a language that's going to be very difficult, or do you want one that maybe will be, you can take it a bit slower and just, I don't know, take it in. So, for example, for an English speaker, Japanese would most likely be more difficult than Swedish. So if you're just going into your first foreign language and you don't want to have to learn a whole new alphabet, Swedish would probably be a better choice. Third, what are you better? You have to know what you're better at learning. It's in particular like within languages. So, this is especially for people who perhaps have already learned another foreign language and want to go into a new one, but learning that past language, was vocabulary easier or was grammar easier? Do you enjoy learning about grammar, or would you rather have just a bunch of different vocabulary but the grammar being simple? So personally, I learn vocabulary a lot faster than grammar. I prefer to learn grammar more naturally than having to learn just the names of accusative or whatever. So for someone who's like that, Chinese might be a better fit because Chinese has almost no cognates at all with English, but the grammar is very simple. So the challenge with Chinese is learning the Hanzi and learning whole new vocabulary for things. But the grammar is very simple compared to a language like German or Finnish, or even the Romanic languages like Spanish and French, where the grammar is more difficult, but you are more likely to find cognates. So if you prefer grammar but find vocabulary much more difficult to learn, if you don't like things to seem random, German might be a better choice, because German does have cognates with English. It does have similarities in the words that they use. I mean, house is house. It's almost exactly the same. But the grammar is different than in English, and it is more complicated than Chinese for sure. Fourth thing to consider is what kinds of resources you'd like available. So generally languages like Spanish and French have a lot more resources than Native American languages or Polish or the smaller languages that are usually just spoken by natives. And that's something to keep in mind as well if you're somebody who needs more resources or enjoys watching like Spanish TV or something. But I think what's most important is just thinking about what you enjoy, what languages sound nice to you, what languages you think would be fun to learn. You should go into a language thinking like, oh, this will be fun, or this will be interesting at least, and not, oh, what a drag, this is horrible. So if a lot of people enjoy anime, so people who enjoy anime a lot would probably enjoy learning Japanese, especially since they'll be able to have plenty of resources for listening comprehension, which I always think is really good. So that's one choice that someone could have. So just think about who you are and what you enjoy doing, and usually that'll be a good way of finding a language. I feel like this video has been really generic, and I'm sorry, but it's difficult to be able to give a sort of general guideline to people. It's easier on a case-by-case basis to give more direct advice, but usually, if you are trying to learn a new language, just take a second to kind of think about what you enjoy doing, what you like, what cultures sort of fascinate you. It just depends on who you are as a person and just what you want out of learning a language. What do you want to take out of that experience? Where do you want to go in life with that? Good luck if you want to learn a new language. If not, keep working on the ones you're learning now. I'm guessing everybody who watches this channel probably speaks another language. So, okay, yeah. See you later.